What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. So the 13 Reasons Why Netflix series has really been catching fire all over social media, getting a lot of critical acclaim, but we need to talk about the ending. We need to discuss the ending, and this is something that we've been recommended to do a lot, so we're going to talk about the ending for 13 Reasons Why. So spoilers. Gotta see that 3 times, or else people get mad. So, as Clay and the audience learn on Hannah's 12th tape, she was sexually assaulted by Bryce on what she calls the worst day of my life, and after that, Hannah decides to set the record straight about her life and begins to recording her tapes, and Hannah does not give life one last try after recording tape 12, which detailed her assault when she approaches her guidance counselor, Mr. Porter, about her rape, depression, and suicidal thoughts. However, Mr. Porter fails to promise Hannah that Bryce will go to jail and instead tells her to simply move on from the assault. Not good. A hopeless Hannah then proceeds to kill herself that afternoon, but while the book leaves the fallout from the assault at that, the show takes this storyline and turns it into the driving narrative of the show's final episodes, and after Clay learns that Bryce raped both Hannah and Jessica, he becomes consumed with a need to make Bryce pay, and develops a plan. Rather than pass the tapes to Bryce, who is next on the list, Clay secretly records Bryce confessing raping Hannah and adds it as the 14th tape in Hannah's collection before giving the tapes to Mr. Porter. Now in the counselor's office, Clay badgers Mr. Porter about how he mishandled the situation when Hannah came to him after the assault and insists that it's now up to Mr. Porter to decide what to do with the tapes, which contain more than enough evidence for an arrest warrant for Bryce. Clay pleads that everybody failed Hannah, but this is a way to make things right. And up until that moment, 13 Reasons Why does an excellent job of exploring the nuance and often contradictory reasons that resulted in Hannah's death. And while getting justice for Hannah is obviously part of what drives Clay's obsession with taking down Bryce, the show never fully explores how hollow this notion is, because when it comes to an issue as complicated as suicide, there is no easy solution and there is no justice. Bryce raping Hannah helped push her over the edge, but it isn't why she was depressed or suicidal to begin with, and so, while getting Bryce to face his crimes may help prevent future assaults from occurring, the singular focus on this form of justice overshadows and simplifies the various reasons and incidents that prompted Hannah to take her own life in the first place. To make things worse, Bryce's one known living victim, Jessica, whose voice on this matter should be the most important of all, is barely heard on the subject. Still reeling from the revelation that she was raped, Jessica tells Clay she isn't ready to let anyone, including her father and the police, know about the assault, and while she tells Clay not to destroy the tapes and does eventually open up to her father, she never tells Clay to go on this crusade. So rather than the end of the series by focusing on Hannah or Jessica's wants and needs, this plan becomes basically a way for Clay to feel like he's accomplishing something profound in Hannah's honor. That way he's found to make things better for the people in her situation, when in reality, he's really just making himself feel better. And not all rape victims are suicidal, not all suicide victims were raped. Presenting the idea that Bryce taking responsibility for being a rapist is a potential way to get closure or justice for the tragedy of Hannah's death. It's a false equivalence that runs counterintuitive to the series' whole message, which is that the reasons someone commits suicide are complicated, varied, and often hard to understand from an outside perspective. But it is clear that the writers definitely wanted to leave the viewers with a small sense of hope. Mr. Porter, seemingly ready to take responsibility for his own failures with Hannah, will likely bring the tapes to the authorities, and Hannah's parents, having received the tapes from Tony, will finally get answers about why their daughter ended her own life. And Clay, Sky, Tony, and Brad literally drive off into the horizon together, unburdened by the weight of Hannah's secrets. But while the idea of Bryce having to face what he did to Hannah and Jessica in court is a comforting thought, it also felt like a contrived attempt to give the season a clear and certain conclusion that veers precautiously but towards the realms of a happy ending, or as well as a happy ending that you could have in a story about teenage suicide. Fortunately, though, the writers were savvy enough to complicate this ending by including the understated reveal that Alex is now in critical condition after attempting suicide, and while Clay's decision to reach out to Sky in the finale is influenced by him recognizing the signs of depression and wanting to help her avoid to a similar fate as Hannah's, Alex's reminder that it is not that simple, and even knowing the signs, even ones that are blatant and clear upon Alex's reflection, you still can never truly know what is going on in someone else's mind. And by showing small signs of Alex's own downward spiral, while viewers and Clay were distracted by untangling Hannah's 13 Reasons Why, suddenly emphasized how easy it is to miss what's going on right in front of you. Either way, the conclusions of both Tyler and Alex storylines work in tandem to support the same point. Despite Hannah's intentions, the people involved with the tapes became so caught up in their own concerns that they failed to learn not to make the same mistakes again. Even Clay. I mean, this is the guy's good guy. He's the hero. He's the show's hero, and he clearly thinks he's learned when he's reached out to Sky. The show's good guy, who clearly thinks he learned when he reaches out to Sky, was the one who sent a nude photo of Tyler around the entire school, proving that his involved state of mind remains selective in its ultratism. And so, while 13 Reasons Why doesn't exactly demonstrate perfect grace or artistry in transforming the conclusion of Hannah's self-told story into a hook brand, it does remind viewers that this show is all about sometimes the littlest action can have the biggest consequences, for better or worse, and when it comes to issues like suicide and sexual assault, there are no shortcuts to closure. 13 Reasons Why is available on Netflix, and I really hope you guys check that out.